Who will be the next Speaker of the House?
Developments on Capitol Hill as several of the Republicans attempt to rally support to become the next Speaker of the House. One of our local Congress members has weighed in on who he wants to see be the next Speaker. Joining us now to break it all down is UCSD political science professor Thad Kauser. How are we doing today, Thad?
Better than Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, before we get to our local Congress members, we've seen Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise both emerge as names to be the next speakers, among others who have thrown their hats in the ring. How difficult do you think it is or might be for Republicans to rally, to coalesce around one name here?
Well, we saw that it took 15 ballots back in January, and I think both of these aspirants for the job face a similar challenge, right? How do you bring people together when that party was fractured, right? Fractured in the public eye in this very in this civil war between the party that happened yesterday. That's the challenge that anyone who wants to get the coalition back together and lead it effectively in bargaining with the Democrats in these very important government shutdown negotiations that will soon be upon us in November.
Local Congressman Darrell Issa says he wants Jordan to be the next speaker. Do you have any thoughts on why that may be his pick over someone like Scalise or others, and what it may actually say about how Republicans feel about this whole situation?
Well, I think Jim Jordan is in the driver's seat in some ways because this was a revolt against the Republican Party establishment, right? That's what's been going on within the party. In many ways, Donald Trump's candidacy was a revolt against the Republican Party establishment. Jim Jordan, although he was not one of the 8 members who voted to unseat Speaker McCarthy, he has the backing at least of Matt Gaetz, who is the most prominent leader of that effort. And Steve Scalise is the number 2 Republican, the majority leader, the person who would usually rise to the Speaker's chair once it becomes vacant, but he also embodies in some ways the some would call it compromising, some would call it statesmanship, that approach that Kevin McCarthy has taken over the last year, and that approach was rejected yesterday.
There will not be a vote on the speaker until next week, so we've got a little pause. It means the House won't be in session really for several days. So what impact will that have on the potential of a government shutdown that we've been talking about, the Ukraine aid that we've been talking about, or any of the other pressing issues happening that need to be addressed right now?
Right. I think it really slows down the potential of Ukraine aid. That was not part of the government shutdown deal that came together on Saturday, but there was a commitment by all sides, right? Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats, House Democrats all want along with President Biden, to resume Ukraine aid. Kevin McCarthy was open to it. His far-right flank was opposed to it. Now that Kevin McCarthy is out of the Speaker's office, that really slows down the Ukraine aid deal, but also makes its politics much more complicated. Will this new Speaker have to commit to opposing Ukraine aid in order to get the job? That will be a question as these sort of 8 members on the far right of the Republican caucus wield extraordinary influence.
They will certainly be watching, especially after what happened with McCarthy. Thank you so much for your time, UCSD political science professor Thad Kauser. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, today